Welcome back to NDTV Profit. We're now joined by the management of Suzlon Energy, and with us today to talk about the company and the outlook is the Chief Financial Officer, Mr. Himanshu Mody. Good morning, Mr. Mody.
Good morning.
Yes. Congratulations on a strong quarter, especially on the EBITDA and revenue front. My first question is on the order book, current order book of 3.3 gigawatts. What's the kind of execution timeline for the current order book?
So largely, these will be executed, I would say, over the two financial years, FY25 and 26. So over the next 8 quarters, I would say.
Okay. And in terms of how much, could you maybe give us a breakup on how much we can expect to execute in FY25 versus FY26?
No, that's something, we won't be able to provide because I don't want to give any guidance on any numbers. But suffice it to say that, it's a healthy order book going forward for us.
Okay, would you be able to tell us if the execution will pick up from the first quarter of FY25 itself, or usually, like historically, most of the order execution happens in the second half of the financial year? How does that execution play out?
So that trend will continue. I think, typically we execute anywhere between 65 to 70% of our orders in the second half of any financial year. That has been the trend in the past as well. And I think that's the same that will continue. So about 30 to 35% of the order book should get executed in the first half of this year.
Okay. And in terms of revenue potential, what is the peak revenue potential of the current order book? Maybe if you could give us the revenue realization per megawatt that the company is seeing.
So we've maintained a revenue realization per megawatt of little less than 6 crores. And I think, that trend would also continue with this current order book that we have.
Got it. So 6 crore per megawatt revenue rate for viewers, that translates to around 19,800 of revenue potential from the current 3.3 gigawatt of order book. And, in terms of deliveries on the wind turbine sector and the execution on the same, it was muted in FY24. Well, there was a growth on a year-on-year basis. Could we expect higher execution in FY25, say 1.2 to 2 gigawatts?
The execution was not muted. I would say in FY24, the industry saw a 43% increase. We did about 3.3 gigawatts in FY24 vis-a-vis 2.2 gigawatts in FY23 as a country. And, Suzlon's share was about 27% market share in this financial year. So yes, while the base may be small and, therefore the increased percentage has been large, but I think, what we've done as a country, 3.3 gigawatts this year, we should be able to do anywhere between 4.5 to 5 gigawatts in FY25 as a country.
Okay, got it. My next question is on the wind turbine generator models, Mr. Mody. Now, the order book is mainly concentrated on the S144 model. What's the plan going ahead? Could we see maybe higher capacity models that the company will introduce, and could this translate into higher margins in that product as well?
So, whilst we have bigger capacity turbines on our drawing board, but it's not necessary that, we'll be introducing those in the market straight away. I think, our 144 model has just started rolling out from October last year. And we'll be, quite focused in making sure that the same is stabilized. As you know, a large part of our current order book is on the 144, which, as I said earlier, we need to deliver over the next 2 financial years. So whilst our product development team will be working on coming out with newer products, but I think as a company, our large focus would be on execution of the 144 turbines over the next few years.
Okay, got it, Mr. Mody. My next question is on the PSU bids. Now, the company corporate restructuring has helped the company, meeting the positive net worth criteria. So what's the current bidding pipeline in terms of the PSU bids? And if the orders are received by the company, how will that execution take place for the company?
So, that clearly depends from tender to tender. Of course, now we are qualified for certain PSU bids. In fact, we have put in bids for the certain PSU tenders, and the execution timeline criteria would differ from bid to bid. So there is no sort of, cookie cutter approach in the same. But of course, that will clearly further strengthen our order book as and when we secure those PSU bids or tenders.
Okay, so what is the bidding pipeline, if you could tell us, like a range that the company is currently bidding for?
So bidding pipeline, I think, is significant. I mean, both not only for PSU but even the CNI customers or even the SECI bids. There is a substantial bidding pipeline that is available to be met out. I don't think that is a cause of concern at all.
Okay, and up next, I want to talk about the corporate restructuring. The company has spoken about the merger of Suzlon Global Services into the main entity. Can you give us a perspective on how the same will help the company and what's the rationale behind it?
So I think multiple areas, we've always maintained to the street that, we are looking at simplifying the corporate structure that we historically have had. So this is a step in the right direction. It also helps us with dealing with our customers, from a contracting perspective, and makes us eliminate certain intercompany transactions that due to legacy reasons, have been there. So significant synergies and of course improves net worth for the Suzlon Energy balance sheet once the merger concludes. So I think significant benefits that we see as a result of which the board has approved the merger.
Okay, and in terms of a period of execution for the merger to go through, what's the the range, or when does the company expect the merger to go through, and would the merger also kind of increase expenses in the short term?
So it will be, I think, a timeline as our advisors tell us is, I think, about 6 to 9 months. So that's the typical timeline that any merger process takes due to various regulatory approvals. And whilst there is a small cost on the merger, but I don't think that will have a material impact on the financials of the.
Got it. And my next question is on, you mentioned in the earnings call about some discussions with the MNRE that the industry is having in terms of transmission capacity creation, whether it's grid capacity or even adding capacity where solar capacity is already in place. Could you maybe give us a more perspective on the same and how this could increase transmission capacity going forward?
So I think the policymakers, the authorities are clearly working towards meeting the 100 gigawatt wind installation target by 2030. Now, whatever that takes in terms of on-ground execution, whether that is, substations or power grid or transmission lines for power evacuation, there is an elaborate plan in place, and we do see that MNRE or other policymakers, other authorities involved are significantly working towards meeting the target.
My next question is on the land bank of the company. Now, in the wind sector, when you get a solar bid, comparatively the execution, or for a company to start working, the time period is slightly shorter. But there have been land acquisition issues in the industry. So when it comes to the company's land bank, what is the strategy going forward? Is it just for in terms of capitalization, or is the company going to use it for order executions going forward?
No, definitely. Whatever land we have identified, we do use it for project execution. So I don't think land is, in terms of availability, is an issue. As you rightly said, at times, the approval process, acquisition process just elongates the project timeline. But I think even the customers and us have started factoring that in, that, this is going to take some time, and it is built in the entire project schedule.
Okay, so what's the land bank of the company currently?
So we don't own, substantial land bank. That used to be several years back the model of the company, but currently, we are not following that. We have a certain land bank and pockets that are identified where we just do some kind of a MOU with the aggregators or the landowners on the ground. So whilst the ownership has not passed on to the company, but the land bank where projects can be executed have been identified with the company. And as I said, wherever we have land in our scope, out of the entire order book, we have a visibility on where the land acquisition can be and what will be the timeline.
Got it. And my last question, Mr. Mody, is on, I want to get some perspective on the exclusive rights that the company has in Rajasthan, I think to the tune of 2.7 gigawatts, if I'm not wrong. What's the outlook and opportunity there?
So, these are MOUs that we do with the respective state governments. So a specific area gets carved out, for developers such as us. And within that area, certain land acquisitions that we need to do is done only by us as the developer or OEM supplier. So it's, it's a good partnership that we are having with the government of Rajasthan, where once we identify the land, we can acquire it exclusively within that radius for onward project execution for our clients.
Okay. Thank you so much, Mr. Mody, for joining us and giving us an outlook for the company, and we wish you all the best.
Thank you.